Kakadosh Boker or Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Nun Bet Amud Aleph 52a1. We're going to just start on Nun Aleph Amud Bet Mishnah. A Mishnah on the bottom of 51b, where it says, Kama tehe asela hasera velo yeba ona'ah. How much does a sela have to be lacking because of that? You know, you're going to come and you're going to be worn out, and it's not going to be a problem of ona'ah. So Rabbi Meir says, Arba isarot, 4 isarot per sela, which is 1 isar for a dinar, which is basically 1/24 of the weight. Rabbi Yehuda says, Arba pundionot lesela, 4 pundionot per sela, which is a pundion for a dinar. Okay, which is going to be 1/12 of its weight, not 1/24 of the weight, 1/12 of its weight. Basically, we're talking about how much of the coin can be downgraded and it's still not considered an ona'ah. Sometimes, by the way, this happens even nowadays with products. For example, I'm going to sell you 100 bottles of milk. I already know that 1 or 2 are going to be spoiled, but you accept that. But if it's going to be more than that, so then you return to me the bottles, and then I give you a credit or things like that. And it's, I mean, there's a concept. Okay, so the same thing. Rabbi Shimon says, Shemona pundionot, 8 pundionot, which is 2 pundionot, le dinar, which is a 6. So one more time, you had 1/24, 1/12, and 1/6. Okay? Ad mata mutar lachzir, until when are you allowed to give it back? In the big cities, it's until you're going to show it to a money changer. And in the kfarim, it's going to be until Erev Shabbat. Now, if you know the seller, so then even if it's actually going to be 12 months, you would still get it back. But he only has a taromet, a complaint. And you could also be mechalel on it, maaser sheni. And you're not going to be choshesh. He's only a kamsan. You know, some people are kamsanim, right? You see it all the time. Yeah? So therefore, right, you have to be careful with that. Fine. Says the Gemara. The Gemara says, we have a contradiction. What's the contradiction? Ad kama tehe sela chasera v'yeba ona'ah. Until when is the seller going to be chaser and you're going to have a problem of ona'ah? Rav Papa says, la kasher, it's not a question. Tana didan kachashi mimata lemala. Our Mishnah is asking to do with a seller, which is going to be that it's not going to be ona'ah if you're going to use it. And we are saying from the bottom to the top, v'lo bichlal. But Tana Baraba, the other Tana, right? Kachashi milmala lemata. He's going from up to down. So, for example, right? You know, we're always talking about how much of a price increase is there. So I could tell you I'm going from down to up. So I could tell you from $0 to $1, but you're going from the $2 to $1. Meaning, are you going from down to up or up to down? Okay, that's the difference between the two different Tanas. Okay, Tana Bara and Tana Didan. Okay, our Mishnah and the Tana which is outside of the Mishnah. Okay. So Maishna besela de plige, Maishna betalit de lo plige. Ask the Gemara, why is it that this is only by a sela and not by a talit? Meaning only by the money do we start saying about these things until how much is lacking and it's still considered ona'ah, no. And what about a talit? So Rava says, who's the Tana of the talit? Rabbi Shimon. It's Rabbi Shimon. And he says that also if it's going to be 1/6, it's the same thing. But according to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, right, even if it's going to be 1/24 or 1/12, so each one according to the reasoning, it's going to be the same thing. That's going to be the first answer. Second answer, Abaye says there's a difference between a talit and a matbeah. Talit, ajtut machilinish, until a 6 people are mochel. Because people say, ashik legabach, right? You bought it for more expensive, right? Veshavi likresach, right? But when you're going to buy it for the shovi, it's only for for food. Sela, kevan de lo sagile, since you're never going to lose from it. Lo machil, so a person is not going to be mochel on the fact that it's going to be on the pachat, on the depreciating value. So therefore, that's why he's coming and he's saying, meaning here he comes and it says, that's what Rashi explained, right? Losagi le'akavana, it's not going. You're not using it for anything else. Okay? So the talit, right? People are going to say, listen, you bought it more than the value. Yeah, and that which you bought it more than the value, that's like clothing. Clothing nowadays, people pay much more than the value. Okay? Gufa. It was stated. Until when is the seller going to be lacking? That it's going to have una. Rabbi Min says, Arba isarot isala dinar. 4 isarot, which is an isar to a dinar. So Yehuda says it's going to be 4 pudyon to a dinar. Rabbi Shimon Omer, shmona pundyonot, which is 2 pundyons for a dinar. Yeter al ken mochra b'shavya. But more than that, you have to sell it at the value. Ad kama tipachet yerasha lekaima. Until when are you going to make it less, and you're going to be allowed to come to be mekayim? Besela a shekel, right? From 1 sela until a shekel, which is half of a sela. Okay, meaning from the 1 sela to half of a sela, which is basically like, let's pretend it's $1 to half a dollar. Okay, now he says bedinar, it's going to be until a quarter. Okay, pachot mikan isar, less than that is going to be an isar. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to sell the matbea for that value. Not to a tagar, which is a craftsman, a tradesman, not to a haram, which is an anas, or to a rotzeach. Because they come and they trick other people with it. Put a hole in it. And then you put it inside on the, right? And by the way, you should know, that's what they do nowadays. Nowadays, if you take $100 bill and it's a fake $100 bill, not only will the bank not cash it, they keep it. You understand? They keep it, right? Why? Because if not, you're going to continue rolling the ball. So therefore, they keep it. So you don't want
to. They keep it only also because they give it to the central.
So gufa. So one more time. So we just said that you're going to make a hole in it and you're going to put it on the, you're going to make it like a necklace for your son or your daughter. Samar more and more says, besela ad shekel. Besela, it's allowed to get rid of the, again, we're talking about it's depreciating in value. So until it becomes like a shekel, bedinar until a quarter. What's the difference? I'm going to buy my rova diktaninami, it's rova shekel. It's a quarter of a shekel. It's not, which is half of a dinar. So it comes out this exact same name. That means you're allowed to keep both of them until it goes to half of its original value. Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, Deikanami dikatani, you could also do so, right? To that which we learned, rova. It didn't say ravia. Because ravia is a quarter. Rova was the half over here. It was rova of a shekel. It wasn't ravia, which is basically going to be a quarter. So lama limitin le dinar b'shekel. Why do we have to learn it? So mintavaga orchek mashmalan will come and teach us something. By the way, teika dinar teati mishekel. But there's a dinar that comes from a shekel, which means that if it comes down in value and until it becomes a dinar, you're still allowed to keep it. Misael le Rabbi Yami, and this comes with proof to Rabbi Yami. The Amar Rabbi Yami, it says Rabbi Yami, dinar ba mishekel mutar lekaimo. Dinar ba misela asur lekaimo. If the dinar is coming from the shekel, which means that it's still going to be a half of the value, you're allowed to keep it. But if the dinar is coming from a sela, and therefore it's going to become less than half the value, you're not allowed to keep it. Okay? 2 dots. Pachot mikan isar asur. My kama. What does that mean? So says the Gemara by Abaye says, Hachi kama. Pachta sela yuter mikte ona'a isar. If it became less, right? That means the sela went down more than the kedei ona'a isar. It's going to be asur. You're not allowed to keep it anymore. Because again, if it went more than the shiur, it's shiur of ona'a. Therefore, you're not allowed to keep it. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we're talking about more than one, the 4 pidyonim. So Amaleh Rava says, if so filu mashu nami. Even if it's going to be chaser mashu, it should still be a problem of ona, right? So you're also not allowed to keep it. So Ela Amar Rava, but rather Rava says, pachta sela, if the sela went down, isal dinar, it's a sur. And stama, we go like Rabbi Meid, that it's going to be, the matbea is going to be 4 isarot per sela. You remember we had the three-way machloket, whether it's 1/24th, 1/12th, or 1/6th. So that's what we're going like Rabbi Meir over here. So now he says, we learned over there in the Mishnah. Sela shenifsela v'itkina. What happens if it became pasul and then you fixed it? Sheyesh shokel b'mishkalot tmeah. It's going to be tameh. Right? Why? Because now it's going to be mekabel tumah. Ad kama tipache v'rasha l'kayma. Until when are you allowed to keep it? Lesela is going to be shne dinarim. And pachot miken, yakotz, you should cut it. And by cutting it, you can't use it anymore. Right? If you also take the coin and you cut it in half, that's it. So you either make a hole in it or you cut it in half. So yeter al ken, what about if it's going to be more than that? Says the Gemara Ravuna says, pachot miken yakutz. Right? If it's going to be less than this, you're going to cut it. Yeter al ken yakutz. If it's going to be more than that, you're also going to cut it. Rabbi Ami says, pachot miken yakutz, if you're going to cut it, right? But if it's going to be yeter al ken yakayem, you're allowed to keep it. Okay? So basically, there's a question, when you're allowed to keep it or cut it. So Meitvei, so they're going to ask the following question, Numbet amubet. Yeah? 52b. Yeter al ken mochra b'shovya. If it's more than that, you could sell it at the original value. You could sell it without any problem. Yeah? So now he comes and he says like this. He says, yeah, shepachta yoter mikde ona. So says the Gemara, are we not talking about that it already was, that it's left less than ona? Says the Gemara, no. We're talking about yetera ol ona, that kati, right, lo pachta bichte ona, that it's still not going to be less than bichte ona. Fine. So then you could still sell it at the original value. Meitvei, we're going to ask the following question now. Okay? Until when is it allowed to go down in value and you're still allowed to keep it? So we said in the Sela, it's going to be until a shekel. Are we not talking about that it went down in value little by little? So therefore, you're allowed to keep it as long as, meaning you know that it's going down in value. Right? You see it. You see that the coin is, and you're allowed to keep it as long as it keeps on going down. Says, no, it fell into a fire, and went down in value in one shot. Okay? And therefore, that's when you're allowed to keep it, because there's no chashash that it's not going to become something else. But if it's going to be little by little, it could be a problem. So Amar more says, make a hole in it, and then keep it for your son or your daughter, and you put it as a necklace. So he says, we have a contradiction. You're not allowed to use it as a weight. You're not allowed to throw it in between your clothing. You're not allowed to make it a hole and to hang it on your son or your daughter. Sorry. You crush it, or you melt it, or you cut it, or you put it to Yam HaMelech and you throw it into Yam HaMelech. So here it's written mefurash that if this coin you can't use it, you can't even make a hole in it and use it as a necklace. And we just said that you could. So what's going on? הבנת את השאלה? בדיוק, כמו הסימון. הסימון was the coins that I told you in Israel, that they had the hole in the middle, that they kept on putting it in the telephone, and then they kept on pushing and pulling it out. Yeah? Yeah? So he says, Amar Rabbi Elazar. Everyone understood the stira. The stira is that one place it tells you that you cannot make it like a simon, right? And you could not make it like a simon and hang it on your children. And the other writer said that you could. So what's halacha? Amar Rabbi Elazar, Ravuna Amar Rabbi Elazar, la kashya. Kan be'emtza, kan be'atzad. If you make it on the emtza, so then nobody could use it anymore as a coin. But if you do it on the side, you could still use it. Meaning if you put the hole mamash in the middle, so now you can't use the coin anymore. Because you've shown everybody that it becomes pasul. But if it's just on the side, so then it's going to be okay. You could still use it. Obviously, nowadays, a lot of these things are not the same. Nowadays, when they want to disqualify a passport, right, or a license, what do? They just cut a little bit on the side. Yes? So now, says the Gemara, so there's going to be a difference where you make the hole in the coin. Ad matay mutar lachzir bakrakim. Until when are you allowed to come and return in the krachim? So it says over here, until you're going to show it to a money changer, or in the kfarim until Erev Shabbat. Why is it by a sela they gave you a time frame? a time frame. And by here, they didn't give you a time frame by a talit. So Abaye says, Kitzna nami matnitim betalit. What are we talking about by a talit? The krachin tznan. We're talking about in the krachin, which means that a talit you have until you're going to show it to a tagar or krovo. That's talking about the krachim. But by the kfarim, you have more time. The kfarim are like the villages. You remember? So a village, obviously, you're going to have more time in order to show it around. Okay? Rava comes and he says another answer. Talit kol inishkim lebegaveh. Everybody knows about talitim. Talitot, everyone knows about talit. Sela, kevan dalav kol inishkim lebegaveh, ela shulchani ilchach krachim ika shulchani al shel shulchanim bekfarim delek shulchani adver shabbatot zesalkin leshuka, which means like this. A talit, everybody knows about a talit. Coins, not everyone was like a money changer. They could look at a bill and tell you like this, it's fake. It's much more difficult. It's very difficult for them to right away know. You understand? So therefore, but you need a money changer. So to do the money changer, it would be that you go until the shuk. Usually you would go into the shuk on Thursdays. So that's what you have until Erev Shabbat. You understand? But the talit, everybody knows about. So therefore, it's right away. That was the difference between the talit and the money. Okay? If you know it, so even after 12 months. Hechal, where are we talking about? If we were talking about the krachim, I thought you told me it's until you show it to the money changer. And if it's talking about the krachim, you said you have until Erev Shabbat. This is midat chasidut. Yeah, what does that mean? Midat chasidut, you would give it back even in 12 months, you would give it back. Yeah? Even after 12 months. So says the Gemara, Yachiv, so let's see the seifa. En lo alav ela taromet. You only could complain. Ile chasid, if we're talking about a chasid, lo kabule lekable mineh, velo taromet avele. He says, isn't it better not to accept it? And then he won't have taromet. Ve'ela, but rather lehachte kable mineh, we're talking about to the chasid that he actually is even better than that he's got it, that he accepts it, then he has a taromet. He's still going to make a taromet, meaning like this. If the guy was a chasid with him, and he gave it back even though he didn't need to, how are you going to have a complaint? How are you going to complain? The guy just did you a favor. Yeah, he didn't need to give it back to you. But the guy was a chassid. Gives it back to you. No. So, hachi kamar, this is what it means to say. Ha'acher, if it's somebody that's not a chassid, even though he doesn't accept it, he could only complain against him, but he can't do anything. Meaning another guy, listen, that's it. He could complain all that he wants, but that's it. Some people, they're complainers anyway. Right? So don't worry about it. But they can't do anything. That's it. Avar zmano. Fine. Next, 2 dots. Notnan le'maaseh sheni. You're going to give it to maaseh sheni. Ve'eno choshesh she'eno ela nefesh ra'ah. Now, but don't worry about it. Why? He's a kamtzan, the guy. What do you want from him? Some people are kamtzanim. They're known to be kamtzanim. So Amar of Papa. The Papa says, Shema mina, we learn from here. Haiman demuki mazuzeh mikre nefesh ra'ah. He says, somebody that's going to be misarev to accept money when there's going to be a gam in it is called the nefesh ra'ah. Right, but one of these words, dafka, if they go out, if they could still use it. Even if it's going to be a dacha. So Messiah lechizkia, this comes as a proof to Chizkia. The Amar Chizkia, but Chizkia says, Bale porta, if you're going to come to redeem it, porta b'shaveh, you're going to redeem it for the equal value. Bale chalela, if you're going to be coming to be mechalel et zeh, chala biyafa, you're going to be mechalel et zeh biyafa. According to the Sevra, yafa. My kamar, what are we dealing with? So hachi kamar, this is what it means to say. Afal pi keshebale porta, even though when you come to redeem it, porta b'shaveh, you're going to redeem it for the equal value. When you're going to redeem it, mechala biyafa. You could be mechalel in it as if it's going to be a sela shlema. Meaning when you're going to come and you're going to take it out, right? You're going to, nowadays it doesn't exist. As long as they accept the currency, they accept the currency. I could bring you a penny. The penny was like deformed, I don't know. But if they accept it, they accept it. Come on, it's still worth a penny. You understand? If it's not, so it's not worth it. You're right. The same with the quarter, the same with anything. Right? Even a dollar bill. I could bring you a dollar bill that looks terrible. Right? But if it's either they accept it, it doesn't go down in value, the actual coin or the actual bill. However, though, here he's saying that to do the chilul, right? Which is the Maaseh Sheni that you're there. You could be mechalel as if it was a beautiful one, but to do with being porta, you could only be poreto zabishavya according to the real value of what it is now. So now, let's say if this dollar bill was now worth 75 cents, so you only got 75 cents. If it's worth 60, 60. If it's worth 90, 90, whatever it is. But to do with the chilul on Maaseh Sheni, you could actually take the regular price on it. So says the Gemara, lemeimra. What, you're going to be mezalzel Maaseh Sheni like that? Right? ואמר חזקיה מעשה שני שאין בו שווה פרוטה, אומר הוא וחומשו מחולל למעות הראשונות, לפי שאי אפשר לו לאדם לצמצם מעותיו. You can't come and start doing the חילול המעות, you can't start doing these things. Right? Why? He says that it's not right doing these things. So says the Gemara, my biyafa, what does it mean now? You're going to be mechalel the money on Maot Sheni, on Maaseh Sheni biyafa. B'torat yafa, titrei zile lo mezalzelim. He says, because you're not going to be mekel two different kulot in it, right? It's already one kula to actually count it as a coin, right? But now that you're not going to make it now that it's going to be also less than the value to the value. That's two kulot. You're not going to do two different kulot. Okay? The Guf Amar Chizkia, that's also what Chizkia said, Maaseh Sheni shemo shove pruta, Omer hu v'chomsho mechulal al ma'ot harishonot, lefi she'i efshar lo le'adam l'tzamtzem ma'otav. You can say that it already did the chilul also on the Maaseh Sheni, and it's still in my hands. So he says, because you could not be mitzamtzem, right, lechalel alem exactly to the value. So Meitvei, so we're going to ask the question then. Hatruma v'bikurim chayvim alem mitah. We know that if a person comes and he eats it, and he's a zar, he's a stranger, he's not a kohen, and he eats truma, or bikurim, he's chayav b'yitabel shamayim. Also, he's going to be chayav chomesh if he did it by accident, and adding an extra fifth. Ve'asurim lezarim, and they're not allowed to eat it for zarim. Ve'hen nichse kohen, it belongs to the kohen. Ve'olim be'echad mi'an, it's going to be annulled in 101, not until the shishim, but till me'mea ve'echad. In order to annul it, you need 101, not shishim, not 60. Utina dechitzat adayim ve'erev shemesh. These are different halachot in Maaser, in Truma and Bikurim, but not in Maaser Sheni. And the Gemara is going to ask, obviously, why.